Hi, I am Skye from Escape. I run the Escape School, so the programs that we run, but also events. And we thought it would be nice to do a couple of videos for you guys just to share some tips and advice in case you can't make it to an event or you're sitting at home trying to figure out what it is that you want to do with your career and you're not really sure where to start. So I thought today I would talk about where to start when you're not sure where to start. So I think when you are considering making a career change, it can be quite overwhelming because you look at job boards like Escape, although we probably are a bit more niche and have fewer than some of the big job boards. But it's really overwhelming. You go on there, there's however many 100,000 jobs, and if you don't know what it is that you want to do, it's scary. You don't make a choice because there's too many choices, or you're worried that you'll pick the wrong thing. And so what I ask people to do is to think about, there are a few clues for us of where we might begin or things that we might try if we are thinking about making a change. And these are, I guess, we'd call them curiosities rather than passions. So people get really stuck on this idea of, well, if I don't know what I want to do, or I need to have some career that I'm passionate about, or like go follow my passion. But most people don't know what it is that they're passionate about. Or they think that's not practical. I love cooking, I'm passionate about cooking, but I don't want to be a chef. And that's totally fine. It's more about thinking about the things that you are curious about or interested in that maybe you might want to explore a little bit more, or maybe there's aspects of it that you haven't thought about, because if it's things that you're already interested in, chances are you're going to feel more fulfilled working on it than if you're working on something that you're definitely not interested in. Particularly if you work in a large company at the moment, where maybe the purpose of the business isn't really aligned with what really matters to you. You don't inherently wake up in the morning and think, yeah, I want to go help people make more money, or I don't know, whatever the task is of the business that you work for. It might not make you feel that excited. So thinking about what actually is inherently interesting to you is a much better place to start. So the first clue that I normally point people to is this idea of, we call it chasing your tennis balls. And the analogy of chasing a tennis ball is, if you think of a dog that likes tennis balls. The first time you pick up a tennis ball and you throw the ball for the dog, what does it do? It runs off after the ball again and again and again. But nobody tells it to chase after the tennis ball. It just does. There's something that's drawing the dog to the tennis ball. And we also, as people, have tennis balls, or interests, or things that pull us. However you want to refer to them, we call them tennis balls. And they are things that maybe that you're reading about late at night when you get into bed and you can't go to sleep, or you really want to know more information about, or maybe talks you sign up to hearing more about. When you go to a bookstore, what section do you always go to? What kind of magazines are you reading? What kind of podcasts do you like to listen to on your commute, or when you're running, or sports events that you like to go to? It's just the things that you're drawn to, that you don't necessarily know why you're drawn to them, but they're things that pull you. We all have them, but it's worth taking a little bit of time and trying to come up with, 5 or 10 tennis balls, or things that you're curious or interested about. It doesn't have to be passions, like I said. And the other thing that's really important to remember is that don't stop yourself before you've started. So don't say, well, yeah, my curiosities are, I like cooking, I like shopping, I like interior design, I like psychology, but I can't make a living being a shopper, or I can't make a living doing. Don't stop yourself before you've started. Just write them down, because you need something to start with. When you've got all of this stuff in one place, then you can think a little bit more about, okay, what's interesting about that area? Oh, maybe it's actually becoming a fashion buyer, or running my own store, or it's thinking more detailed about that later. But don't stop yourself now. Right now you just want to get a list out. And the second place to start is frustration. So a lot of people say, well, I don't really know what I'm interested in, but they could tell me things that really bother them. So problems that they see in their work, or in the world, or in their daily commute, or whatever it might be. But thinking about what are some of the things that really bother you, problems that you see in the world, It could be somebody's, could be being stuck like a sardine in the tube. It could be constantly walking down the street and seeing people who are homeless and feeling like somebody's got to fix something around this. And thinking about what are all those problems that really bother you. Because often the reason that we feel unhappy in our work is because we feel like we lack purpose. We feel like we're doing something, we're a cog in a machine, and the work that we do doesn't really matter. We're just making money for people who already have money, or we're doing something and we don't really feel tied or connected to the reason of why we're doing it. And often when you actually work on a problem that you care about, that I say I inherently care about food waste. If my job is either running a business in food waste or working at a company that tackles food waste, I will feel like there's a reason that I go to work, because the work that I do makes a difference in something that I care about. So thinking about what are the problems that you actually care about is a good place to start. So a lot of people have ambitions to go and work for charities or non-profits or kind of more purposeful businesses like B corporations, but it's important to think about what problem do you actually care about working on, because there are charities solving every problem under the sun, or working on every problem under the sun. So actually thinking about 5 to 10 or maybe more problems that you inherently care about might be another good place to start. The third one, I guess, is looking around you, looking at people that you really admire. So whether those are famous people who are doing interesting things, or friends or colleagues or family, people that really that you see something in them. It doesn't have to be their whole life or their whole personality, but there's something, some aspect of their lives that you really admire. And thinking about why do you admire them? What is it specifically that you admire? So for me, it might be I really admire Sheryl Sandberg, who's the COO of Facebook, because she is unbelievably resilient. Her husband died very tragically, and she wrote a book it's called Option B, about resilience and how to build resilience, and has created this whole online community and offline community about helping people be more resilient because things go wrong, and her mission is to help people to be more resilient. And whilst doing that, she's the COO of Facebook, which is obviously one of the biggest companies in the world. She's an incredibly powerful woman, and she goes out and she tries to help other people. So I admire that she is thinking beyond herself, that she's open about her challenges and difficulties, and that she's very ambitious, right? So those are things that I admire about somebody like Sheryl Sandberg. Now, that actually tells me a lot about what I want my life to be like, or what I would like my work to be a bit more. If I inherently value those things, it's thinking, okay, what are roles or things that I might do where I could be more courageous, or that I could be helping people beyond myself, or that how would I like to be ambitious? So it's actually just digging a little bit deeper into what you actually want your life to be like, or your person, or your job. So thinking about, I don't know, you could do 3 or 5 or 2 or however many, but try to think of some people that you admire, and it could be people you know or that you don't know, and thinking about why that is. And then actually actioning on this stuff is really important. So thinking, okay, how could I be 10% more ambitious this week? Or how could I be 10% more supportive of other people this week? Just to try to enhance your life just exactly right where you are right now. Because when you start to move in these kind of directions, you'll see that new opportunities open, or you start to get more clarity about, oh, actually, I've spent the last week trying to mentor other people at work as part of me just doing more of things that I admire in other people, and actually I really like it, and I'd like to move into more of this kind of HR role or people role. You find that when you start acting like people that you admire, you will find out more about the kind of environment or the work that you want to be doing. So it's worth starting there. And the fourth clue, I suppose, when you are trying to think about what you want to do, is starting where you are. So it's thinking about the skills that you have, the people that you know and have access to, and what you care about. So we talked about what you care about or what you're interested in, but thinking about the skills that you already have, and most people actually find this really difficult. They're like, well, if you don't feel happy in your work, people tend to lose confidence in their ability. So if you don't know what skills you have, write down every single task you do in a day. What is everything you do? Everything from responding to emails, to drafting emails, to answering the phone, managing finances, managing a P&L, whatever it is that you do, managing people. Write everything down, all of the tasks, and all of a sudden you've got a list of things that you can do. They're all skills, right? Most of the things that we do day to day are transferable to other things. So write down the skills that you have, then pick out the ones that you like using, skills that you have that you enjoy using, and then also skills that you have that you don't necessarily enjoy using, but you have them anyway. So for me, I facilitate a lot of workshops, so it's a skill that I have that I enjoy using. I like facilitating workshops. A skill that I have that I don't enjoy using would be probably like bookkeeping, because I did that a long time ago and I really hate it, but I can do it. So thinking about that and writing a list of skills that you have that you enjoy using, skills you have that you don't enjoy using, and then networks and communities that you have access to. And thinking about, okay, once you've written it all down and kind of made, I guess, a bit of a matrix, think about, are there ways that you could offer the skills that you have that you enjoy using to those people that you already know? Because it's so much easier to make a move if you've already got your foot in the door. So whether that's in a freelance capacity, whether it's volunteering, or whether maybe there's a job opportunity somewhere with people you went to school with, or university, or in your football team, or in your office space, or family or friends, that's actually thinking about, can you offer some of those skills to people that you already have access to as a starting point? If not, could you offer some of the skills that you don't enjoy using so much to those people, just to get your foot in the door? And this is just to try to come up with a whole range of options that you might be able to pursue, right? I'm not saying that you're going to sit down, you're going to write all this down, and you'll be like, that's the thing, but at least you have somewhere to start. Whereas when you are, like I said, when you're looking at a job board and you're just thinking, well, I don't like what I'm doing now, what else could I do? Not having any sort of list of potentials is really overwhelming. So just getting everything down on one piece of paper, a couple pieces of paper, of things that you enjoy, problems that you care about, skills that you have, and aspects of people's lives or personalities that you admire, all of a sudden you've got a lot more than you thought you did. Potential directions, things to explore a bit more, whether that's, picking one a week. So if I had said one of the problems I cared about was food waste, maybe my task would be, right, for 1 week I'm going to try to go out and speak to as many people as I can who work in this space, or I'm going to find out all of the companies who operate in this space and start to reach out to them. But you have somewhere to start. And it's not about trying to just get a job in the first thing, but it's actually thinking about, okay, if I'm gonna make a career change, I want to move into something that is more exciting for me. So taking some time to actually explore different options and find out, oh, okay, I've gone and looked in food waste. Actually, it's not really, it's exciting, but it's not as exciting as I thought. But this other thing, psychology, I'm getting really excited about, and I've spoken to some people. It feels a lot more aligned with my values or what I'm lacking in my current work, and so I'm gonna try to get some work in that area. But actually taking some time to think about this and talk to people who do these jobs. So many people just say, oh, okay, that sounds interesting, I'm just gonna go over there. And then they go over there and they find out it's just the same stuff that they don't like about their current job in a different company. And so actually speaking to people who do this work, you can find out everything. You can find out what it's like to work there, what skills are important, what they're looking for, what kind of progression opportunities are there, do they have the same values, is things aligned to what you want your life to look like, what's the work-life balance, how autonomous is it, all of that stuff. That you can find out all of that in advance before you write a cover letter, do your CV, apply to a bunch of things. And I think that makes a lot more sense. We don't, I never understand why we don't do this, but we're taught that we should date people before we marry them. We're taught that we should rent houses before we buy a house, that we should go view houses before we buy a house, and that we should try things before we buy them, right? But I don't understand why we don't do the same with careers. You should try it before you buy it. You should go out and find out as much information as you can about a potential career path or business before you decide to trade your time for it, to working on it. Because if you spend all of this time writing cover letters, writing CVs, applying for jobs, going for interviews, and then you get somewhere and it's not as good as what you were expecting, or it's worse than wherever you've left, it's really disheartening. And it's actually very risky, because then you're in a bad position. So actually taking the time to try before you buy is really important. So write all of those ideas down, think about all the clues, and then think about how can I date some of these ideas for a week or 2 weeks or a month, and just what would it be like to do this, and actually experience what that would be like, whether you go in shadow or volunteer or just speaking to people, but actually to kind of get a sense of what a potential path is like, or what are all the different careers that you could have in food. You could be a chef, or you could start your own business, or you could just work near food. You could create a food product. You could go work somewhere like HelloFresh or Gusto, or just work in something associated with food. But actually taking some time to think about what's interesting in that for you is, I think it's a lot better option. So hopefully that's helpful. Some clues to start with if you're not sure where to start. Obviously deciding which one to choose will only come from testing some things out and seeing what you like and don't like about them. But this is how we find that people figure out what they want to do. It's not just sticking their finger in the air and thinking, okay, I'm just going to pick that one. But it's actually going out there, considering all of the opportunities and thinking, okay, I'm going to go and test this stuff out. So write this all down, get a big A3 piece of paper, write it all down, all of the clues, all of the potential directions, and then start to test some. And I promise you'll get a lot more insights about potentials that you can start to cross off over time, that maybe it's not the right thing for you, than if you're just sitting there thinking, well, I have no idea what I want to do. So hopefully that's helpful, and see you next time.